What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're here for my team, the career mode series, where we take our own Formula 1 team from the bottom to the top. As you saw in the last episode, we are now at the top in terms of raw performance, the best car on the grid. We just need to tie up those final few components to challenge for the Constructors' Championship, that being our teammate. So it all starts with this charity event, which we are swiftly going to decline so that he can focus on his focus. Fancy that. So we're here today for the Canadian Grand Prix, another street circuit today, a circuit which I'm pretty good at. So I'm hoping for big things, and I'm hoping that Daniel Ricciardo can show some of the pace he showed in the last episode here today. If this is your first time watching my channel, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel to see plenty more racing game content. We've got F1 22 just around the corner, and of course I'm going to be touching upon the new F1 manager game, which is going to be pretty cool to do a little let's play on as well. I'm thinking I'm going to do like a let's play of that maybe on Twitch, so if that's something you guys are interested in, let me know. I think I'll like stream it there and then upload the highlights to YouTube kind of thing, much like how I do with co-op, which will be again returning for the new game. Now, in terms of upgrades for this car, we've maxed out everything performance-wise. We now just need to work on durability for like literally everything. We're bringing in all the resource points, and that's just going to be the focus now to make sure we have a car that doesn't fail us, because that was a big, costly area of our departments in seasons 2 and 3, potentially cost us a championship as well. So yeah, we want to be maximizing this final season here in F1 2021 career mode. In terms of other facility upgrades, we're going to do a quality control one for the durability. No point touching on any of the other departments because we've maxed out everything else. So durability is well and truly the focus now. Still the best car. Aston Martin makes some pretty good strides heading into the Canadian Grand Prix. Then we've got Austria after this. So we're heading into a good part of the season. A lot of tracks that I favor quite nicely. So let's maximize this while we can before other teams start to catch up to us. But yeah, Friday practice was fine. We're now moving into qualifying now for the Canadian Grand Prix. All right, here we are on the grid for the Canadian Grand Prix. Quite honestly, this is probably one of the least important qualifying sessions of the season. Not to say that we're going to take this lightly, but if you qualify outside the top 10, you start on mediums and you can pretty much overtake everyone. Much like Monza, there's so many DRS zones, but you know, we don't want to be leaving things to chance, and we want to be staying close to our teammate because you never know what might happen. We want to be as close as possible. 2 seconds off on our first run in Q1, and I'm actually doing something I don't normally do, and I'm actually going out again, but on the same set of tires I did my first run on, because I felt like I could get a little bit more out of the track and personally out of myself. So here we go, final run out of the last corner, 6/10 up as we approach the line. Are we going to move up from P16? No is the answer. We improved by 6/10. Imagine not moving up a place in Formula 1. That is absolutely ridiculous. It is P16, so we do get through to the next part of qualifying, but that was a little bit sketchy. 1.3 seconds off pole. Not much of a margin to overtake the rest of the guys, but that's a little concerning. Thankfully, the bottom 3 or 4 teams are miles off the, well, pretty much the rest of the field, really. So we're able to scathe through qualifying quite nicely, even if we do have some bad laps sometimes. But it has to be said, if you're new to career mode, the AI are ridiculous in qualifying, especially the deeper you get into career mode, the upgrades that they have, and I don't know, it's just a bit crazy. Things go back to normal for the race, but some of these qualifying efforts are pretty crazy. I put in some good laps, but sometimes it's just not enough to really challenge. But here we are in Q2. You can see we're up by a mammoth 7.5 tenths as we approach the final chicane. Big commitment through here. mount the curves nicely. Probably could have cut the first part of the chicane a little bit more, but up to the line, improvement of 8.5 tenths. And does that see us through into Q3? It does for the time being. P10, final spot in qualifying, but everyone is still yet to complete their laps. We've got Eilert, Gasly, many more others behind us in really good cars yet to put in a time. Max Verstappen goes P1, and unfortunately we get knocked out by Marcus Armstrong. Marcus Armstrong has gone up to 3rd place in the AlphaTauri. That is an outrageous time from my former teammate in Season 1. Daniel Ricciardo's out in Q2 as well. He banked a time on mediums, which was pretty solid to be fair, but didn't opt to go out again on softs to beat the time, and he's in the midfield with me, so that is a bit of a calamity for Marduk Motorsport. I did say this isn't the most important place for qualifying, but that's for me. The AI have a harder time overtaking. We can take solace in the fact that Ricciardo has a good car, so he should be able to make it up through the field. He did do a second lap, and he aborted the 3rd sector. Did he make a mistake? Did he crash? I'm not too sure. I did return to the garage before actually letting the time run out, so maybe that's affected Ricciardo's lap and he's lost it. And if that's the case, Daniel, I'm so sorry. It's time for the race.
Hello and welcome to the Ile Notre Dame once again for what promises to be another incredible Canadian Grand Prix at a fiercely competitive circuit, where pole position can often be decided by less than 1/10 of a second. Alongside me once again for coverage of today's race, it's none other than the great Anthony Davidson. Let me ask you about Alpine. We have a number of changes to the aerodynamic regulations this year, and the signs haven't looked good for them so far in terms of getting to grips with those changes.
It doesn't look promising for them so far. And if the new regs have hit them as hard as we think, well, I suspect they may need a few late nights at the factory to get back on track.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Ocon, Lando Norris, and Hamilton, Sainz, Armstrong, Stroll, and Daniel Ticktum, Benjamin, Eilert, Pierre Gasly, and Ricciardo, Vettel, Tsunoda, and Guan Yu Zhou, and Nicholas Latifi, Russell, Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher, and Nikita Mazepin. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So not an ideal start to the weekend then. Midfield placings for both of us. In the best car, that's just not good enough, is it? But here we are ready for the start of the race, and it looks like it's going to rain towards the end, much like the last race we had in Azerbaijan, which did cause a bit of drama. Will we see the same interesting tactics here this weekend? If you haven't seen that video already, you need to go back and see it, because that was an absolute thriller. Anyway, we are moving ahead to the race now. We're going to leave the tyre pressures where they are. I don't think tyre pressures are much of a concern here today. We've lowered the fuel massively. We're about 3 laps under fuel, but we didn't do a race run on Friday practice, so we don't actually have the relevant tyre wear numbers and also fuel burn rates to really go by. So we're kind of taking a stab in the dark here, but we do know that the fuel consumption is really good on this car, so we should be okay. 5 red lights, and we are underway for the Canadian Grand Prix. Looks like an okay start. Marcus Armstrong getting off quite well in P8 there, but had absolutely nowhere to go. Up the inside of Ticktum, potentially, as we battle away with Eilert and Gasly through turns 1 and 2. Collision with Gasly, apparently. I'm not too sure what that's about, but we maintain our track position for now. Again, on the medium compound tyres. Oh! Massive brake check there. Lucky to get away with no damage. That's completely killed our momentum in our run on Dan Ticktum. We would have had into this chicane. So unfortunately, not an overtake there to be had for us there. But we'll slot in behind for now and just try and get into a rhythm in this race. We are not going to have the pace early on with the soft compound runners absolutely flying with their much higher residual grip. Once the DRS gets enabled and these guys start battling a little bit more, I feel like we'll be a little bit more of a factor. The AI a little bit slow at this hairpin. I found that the AI aren't great at low speed rotation. That's something that our time trial setups really lend us themselves well to in these career mode videos. But you can see Ticktum and Stroll fighting side by side of the chicane. Look at how much time they lose, just trying to leave each other space. And we say, see you later, mate. That's P9 for the taking. Here's the replay. You can't go side by side through there. You've got to sort it out before you get to the apex, otherwise that happens. And that is a pure example of slow in, fast out, and how it is very beneficial to the opposite. But anyway, Jeff is complaining very heavily about my fuel rating. Mate, it's going to be absolutely fine. We are actually recovering a lot of fuel per lap. I'd probably say it's about at least 0.2 per lap. So I think we'll actually end up with extra fuel by the end of the race. Side by side, we ticked him into the last chicane, and that was actually quite savage from us. We left Ticktum absolutely no space at the second part of that chicane. I'm not interested in squabbling for the sake of squabbling. We have a race to run, and we have to stay with the race leaders. So I had to end that battle quickly, but it was for the benefit of both of us, so that we could press on in this race. Armstrong is 3.6 seconds up the road, and now that we've got some clear air, we're actually starting to eat into that gap a little bit. So we lost a bit of time stuck behind Stroll and Ticktum. We've got past them now, and now maybe their tyres are slowly starting to degrade. The rear tyres go off very quickly at this place, especially if you're sliding around, if you've got an oversteery setup and you can't really manage the balance of the car. That pace dissipates very quickly. But we're on the medium, so we don't need to worry about that so much. We can push very hard and not worry about temps or anything like that, which is nice to see. 13% on the left rear tyre, and that's after 8 laps. So we could probably do the entirety of this race maybe on mediums if we have to. Stay out until the rain hits. But that's very good tyre wear numbers. We've been very composed, very measured in this early part of the race. And I think that's going to pay dividends later as we see the race leaders all diving in for mediums. I think one of the Mercedes there went on to hards, which is interesting. They want to stay out till the end as we see Charles Leclerc going at the inside of Yuki Tsunoda in the Aston Martin. I had to do a double take there as they fight side by side. Yuki hasn't made a stop yet. He's on old soft compound tyres, and he's just knocking out the grip that Charles Leclerc does on those new mediums. And it's Leclerc who gets through for P7. He's our effective race leader at this stage. We see more race leaders coming into the pit lane, getting off those soft compound tyres onto the mediums for Carlos Sainz. And he stays ahead of the Mercedes. So, lap 10, lap 11, we lead this race by 8 seconds over Max Verstappen, who actually, Max Verstappen is the effective race leader. But he made a very early stop onto new tyres. So Charles Leclerc is going to be chasing him down. It's going to be between those two and potentially us for the race win. Daniel Ricciardo, nearly a lap behind us. I don't know what's going on with him. He hasn't got through the traffic very nicely. He's getting held up quite a lot, unfortunately. So that's the downside of the AI teammates. Oh, safety car! Lewis Hamilton is out of the Grand Prix. And this is why. Massive slide out of the Wall of Champions. He's collided with the wall. But I think the other Mercedes as well made contact with someone. Here's the replay, and this is on board with Hamilton. I think it was Bottas up the road had a moment, crashes into Lando Norris, but then Lewis has his own incident as well on his own. So potentially there was a bit of oil laid down on the circuit, or much like the Spanish Grand Prix, there was a massive gust of wind at that part of the circuit. And it's affected both the Mercedes cars because it happened at the exact same time. And Lando, unfortunately, the innocent bystander in all that, he's lost his wing. And that's pretty much race over for the McLaren driver. Exact same spot for Bottas, but Hamilton gets it potentially a little bit worse. So that's rather unlucky. The Wall of Champions claims another victim, and Lando Norris is out of the Grand Prix. Well, he's definitely out of the Grand Prix now, as one of the Alpines says good night. So safety car has been deployed. Oh, what do we do here? We're in an awkward phase. The rain is a long way out yet. I think I might box for soft compound tyres and hope that that tyre can get us to the end.
Rain is forecast in just over 10 minutes time. Rain in 10 minutes. Dry seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
By the end, I mean the end of the dry stint. So we're going to take a chance here. It says over 10 minutes until the rain hits, but then it's going to take an extra few minutes on top of that for the track to actually fully get wet, to the point where we need intermediate tyres. So the tyre wear numbers have been pretty good today, and we're going to put them to their absolute limits. as we switch on to the better, grippier tyre. So here we go. This actually helps us in getting a faster lap attempt as well, so there's potentially more points to be had by doing this strategy, but it is a big risk. If the rain takes any longer than what Jeff is saying, then we are screwed in this race. So fingers crossed that this strategy for us can pay off. Anyway, lap 15, safety car, I believe, will come in at the end of this lap. The lights are out. So it's going to be us versus the 2 Red Bulls and Charles Leclerc to gun for the victory in this race. I've made a conscious effort not to take too much life out of the tyres, warming them up, because we need to save all the tyre life we can to attack these guys. And attack these guys we must. Away we go for green flag running for the Canadian Grand Prix. It's going to take about a lap or two for us to really get in the zone compared to these guys, because the AI like to dump all their battery in the first lap or two. So it's actually going to be quite hard to make any inroads, and I feel like we're running more downforce than those around us. 9.9 wings. I know that sounds weird, but that's what everyone was running in time trial, getting world records and stuff. So, you know, it's got to be worth something here in this career mode race. Enables us to push quite hard in the high-speed corners. But, yeah, it leaves a little bit to be desired on the straights. But, you know, we've got one of the best straight line speed cars anyway. I don't think it seems to matter too much. But as you can see here, we're stuck behind Esteban Ocon. DRS not enabled yet. I could really expend my battery to get up right underneath his gearbox, or potentially even get past him, but that would completely deplete all of our battery, and I thought there's no real point doing that. We're just going to wait an extra lap and get the DRS and then have a crap load of battery to really push on after we get past Ocon. So this is the best long-term play, and to be honest, I'm not getting held up by these guys. They are pushing very hard, and Ocon has a big mistake through that last chicane, and we go up the inside into Sector 2, and that puts us now on the podium effectively in this Canadian Grand Prix. So we're looking pretty good at this stage. Jeff saying the tyre wear numbers are pretty good and we can extend to lap 24 if need be. But I think we're going to have to extend to maybe close to lap 30 for the rain to truly hit us. We've got DRS on Leclerc. He's a bit of a sitting duck here as he takes the inside line at turn 1. We get the bit of a shortcut run up the inside, which turns to the outside the next corner, and we get up into P2. So boom, making the most of these soft compound tires. Max Verstappen is up next. We still haven't got the fast lap of the Grand Prix, believe it or not, but Verstappen is just absolutely flying at this stage. Here's my teammate stuck up behind a lot of traffic. He boxed on the soft compound tires under the safety car, and well, he's in again. Daniel Ricciardo has not opted to stretch out the tires and is doing a 2-stop before the rain. He is really dooming this race. Guan Yu Zhou is out of the Grand Prix. Could that be a safety car? Doesn't look like it at this stage. It looks like we are going to continue with green flag running. Meanwhile, more of the race leaders are boxing again. So this is actually going to help out Daniel Ricciardo a little bit, because I thought he was going to be one of the only ones doing a 2-stop before the rain hits. And it's only minutes away at this point as Ricciardo makes a move on Mick Schumacher. I'm not sure what position that is for, but it's literally P15 or worse at this point. Ricciardo's having an absolute stinker today. Meanwhile, we are leading the race by nearly a pit stop. Everyone else couldn't stretch their tires, but we are risking it for the chocolate biscuit here. We know the rain is coming, so it's only going to take an extra few laps to stretch out these tires, and it's not going to come at much of a cost. I mean, yes, we are losing time to Verstappen and Bottas and Leclerc, but they're not going to make up an entire pit stop, so we're going to be fine. The safety car has come out. Maybe we're not going to be fine. Another rogue safety car. That's 2 in 2 episodes. There was no local yellow, no retirement from anyone. FIA, once again, have got bored and want to absolutely see me struggle in this season of career mode. We are into the pit lane. My teammate's into the pit lane. That was confusing. So Ricciardo, maybe it was Ricciardo then who caused the safety car. He's crashed into someone, or someone's crashed into him. I'm not too sure. He's having a not so fun race. Is my teammate. He's now last.
Seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
And dries is still the preferred tyre of choice for now. But it's oh guys, it's so close. I could probably dive in for intermediate tyres right now, and they might be okay by the end of the safety car, but I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. Are we going to come in? Yes, we are going to come in. We are going to take the slight risk. I didn't want to come in straight away for intermediate tyres when the safety car was first brought out because I didn't want to take too much life out of them. I wanted to, I don't know, protect the life of the tyres for this final stint because this is what we're going to be running on for the rest of the race. But no one else has opted to dive in, and this was, I believe, this is the last opportunity to get inters under safety car. So I'm going to take it. It's going to put us down to last with our teammate. So Marduk Motorsport in the fastest car are 17th and 18th right now. My teammate should have came in last lap. He's still on dry compound tyres. But safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. In under 10 laps, we've got to go from last to first. And looks like everyone's coming in at the end of this lap. We pretty much predicted that. And yeah, we're going to gain back all the time as we go back underway for green flag running for the remainder of this race. And there's only a handful of drivers who stayed out the dry compound tyres in intermediate conditions. It said the rain was set to ease up very quickly after the initial spell of rain. So maybe those people staying out are going to stay out for the rest of the race. My teammate is in. My teammate is in, and he's going to dry compound tyres again. Why? That makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely none. Ricardo is having the worst race of any F1 driver ever. As we get up into P3. What is the actual point in that? Everyone else is on inters, and my teammate is on dry compound tyres. Why? Whoever is in charge of the strategies at Marduk Motorsport, they need firing ASAP. I mean, in the past, it's been a joke, but this is another level. This is literal self-sabotage at this point. We now lead the Grand Prix by over 10 seconds to Max Verstappen, getting our braking wrong there in the wet. I was braking at my dry line in the dry conditions, and well, that's what happens. Thankfully, we didn't get a warning. We didn't get a corner cut. That's how to get a free corner cut in the F1 games. You go around the bollard and you should be absolutely fine. But yeah, from there, we were pretty much uncontested, really. We got a free pit stop out of that with everyone not stopping under the safety car for intermediate tyres, and now we're just managing the gap to Max Verstappen. We've absolutely backed off to make sure we don't make any mistakes. Ocon retired from the Grand Prix. Didn't bring out another safety car, thankfully, and we're able to cruise home for an easy victory. A victory which we should have got in Azerbaijan, but we make amends at the very next race here in Canada.
Fantastic drive, just fantastic. You deserved that race win.
They take the checkered flag then here in Canada in what has been another fabulous Grand Prix. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, they clearly have a car that comes alive in the kind of conditions we were dealing with today. It's a very balanced package in the wet, and what that means is that the drivers have confidence to attack. And having that confidence gets you on the power earlier, it lets you brake later, and can put you a long way up the road.
Welcome then to the podium, our top three drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
Well, what do I say after that? Codemasters, the weather gods, I don't know. They threw everything at us today, but nothing could take us away from the top spot. Not even Max Verstappen in the rain. We win the Canadian Grand Prix. Margin was a lot closer than what it realistically was. Like I said, we were absolutely cruising to the end there. And just missed out on the fastest lap when we were on the soft there. So Verstappen had supreme pace. I think overall, Verstappen was probably the fastest man today, but we made the right calls at the right time. I feel like we were the only person in this race who really kept their head when it came to strategy, and that made the difference. We, on two occasions, two separate occasions, we were able, through strategy, to gain a pit stops lead. And then the safety car right at the end kind of undoing it all. However, we get away with a win. Ricardo, 16th place, 37 seconds off the lead in the end. 5-stop strategy, lost his wing once, and then just made some shocking calls. For a driver who started on mediums, that is not good enough. But we now lead the drivers' standings by 1 point over Charles Leclerc. Max Verstappen challenging as well in P3, 8 points behind. Bottas has been consistent, and he's going to require that consistency for the rest of the season to buy his way into this title fight. Ricciardo, we're in the best car now, mate. You can't be making these kind of errors. I mean, qualifying was on him. That loss of front wing was on him, but then the team didn't help him either. So it's a combination of errors there. P2 for us in the constructors standings, 20 points behind Ferrari, who didn't have an amazing day. Fairly quiet one for those guys. Charles Leclerc was doing well early on, but then fell away towards the end for some reason. And that was the race. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you did enjoy. Pretty crazy race in the end there. But like I said, I was the only one to really keep my head there, so that made the difference. We weren't the fastest, but we sure were the fastest on thinking on our feet, I think is what won us this race. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed. When you're watching this, I'm where I should be in Monaco, so if you guys want to keep up to date with our adventures over there, check out my Instagram, see some cool content, and I'm going to make a video or two from my time over there, so really looking forward to it. It's been a bucket list item to go to the Monaco Grand Prix, and I'm currently there now, so it's pretty crazy to think. So hopefully the race is good. Though it probably won't. We know what F1 is like, but either way, it'll be really cool to be there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until the next one, I'll see you next time.